day, YouTube. I'm Daniel Claremont. I'm the Acadian therapist. Welcome back to lovely rural Nova Scotia. I hope that you're doing well. A question that I've been noodling for some time is the notion of competition versus cooperation. The idea of being very dominant and aggressive, single-minded, focused, laser-focused on the life you want to live, imposing your will on the world, changing your future. Or cooperation and slower pace, and let's get everyone's thoughts, and how do we come together and work collaboratively? And it's not about me being dominant, it's about being part of a solution. It doesn't so much matter about me. And at this point in my life, I would say that the conclusion I've reached is what works best is cooperation. Competition. Okay, we're going to sort this out today. I would love to hear your thoughts about this as well. I hope you find the discussion valuable. As always, if you find value in this content, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe. All that helps support our work here. Okay, I'm going to let him start. Okay, let's begin by talking about the notion of competition. I would say that some people would link this back to the notion of survival of the fittest, which was Charles Darwin's work regarding evolution. By older interpretations of what fittest would mean, it would mean whoever is stronger. In other words, whoever is more dominant, whoever is more aggressive will get others to yield to the authority of the alpha. You see this played out in a lot of patriarchal systems, the idea of hierarchies, where you've got the top dog, the one that has the most authority. And suspiciously, a lot of the rules that seem to apply to other people don't apply the same way to those people in authority. So they have more power, they have more influence, and they don't have to treat others with the same respect that you'd have with some of those lower strata. For those who talk about narcissism, this would fit that description. The idea that someone is looking out for themselves, that they are aggressive and they aggressively pursue their goals and they will take down whatever obstacles get in their way. You also see this in professional sports and competitions. Even in terms of the Olympics and whatnot, there is a winner and there's first place, second place, third place, and then there's everybody else. And you want to be first place and you push hard. Sometimes the competition is against other people. Sometimes it's against ourselves. Sometimes it is an effort to prove people wrong, people that have hurt us, people that have abused us. Sometimes we seek to look good at your high school reunion, or we want to prove that abusive parent that they were wrong, or that teacher that didn't believe in us. So it lights a fire under us. There's this energy. And I would link it to the fight reaction of fight or flight. So there is an energy, an excitement, an enthusiasm, and you just want to win. You want to overcome the odds. And when you accomplish it, it feels amazing. You stand on top of that mountaintop and you know that you have conquered it. You've shocked others and you've shocked yourself by what you are capable of. You haven't imagined it before and you feel dominant. Now, Will Storr talks about this in terms of status games. Now, personally, I found this to be a very humbling read, to realize that a really common, perhaps universal component of human behavior is this desire to look good and to have some status, to prove ourselves worthy through these things that we do, these projects that we take on, these things that we accomplish, these awards that we are celebrated for. And so the notion of competition can become a drive that can push us to achieve, can really push us to accomplish. Of course, there is also a negative aspect to this kind of a drive. Because if you're a winner, then someone else is a loser. And if you're comparing yourself to others, other people are comparing themselves to you. And so rather than respect and admiration, sometimes you get resentment and you get judgment. And if you achieve the top, there's always someone that's looking to take you down that peg and looking to put you in their place or to define themselves by you. They proved you wrong, so it makes them more right. You see this an awful lot on the internet, for example. You will see a lot of people who will just vent negativity rather than engage in dialogue. And so if we were just playing the game, well, perhaps we could accept this. We could make peace with that. We could say, well, I was dominant for a little while and now it's someone else's turn. But if you have linked your self-esteem and your self-worth with the achievement of conquering whatever enemy or achieving a position, then you have to maintain that and you have to fend off attacks. There is an insecurity that comes from that. Also, if part of what motivated you, part of what fueled you was that fight reaction, well, that's adrenaline fueled. It's short term. The body kind of returns back to a state of calm. Put another way, I think many people would love to achieve a goal and then be able to rest and just celebrate. But depending on how much value you have put on that status game, that you've put on the notion of achievement, you're going to need to achieve more or maintain that achievement to fight off the feeling of failure at losing it and giving up that status to someone else. Which brings us to the idea of cooperation as motivator. So let's go back to that theory of evolution, that theory of survival of the fittest. Now, what Charles Darwin was referring to is not necessarily the strongest survive. It is the organisms that are most adapted to their environment have the best chance to survive. So when the environment changes, the organisms that are able to adjust have the better chance of surviving to pass their genes on in order to continue improving the species. And for this, I like to think about the human cell, specifically the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, don't worry, I'm not going to go too far into the biology on this, but if you'll bear with me. In every cell in your body, there is an organelle. Just like your body has organs, cells have organelles. And it's called the mitochondria. And as far as we know, this actually began as an invader to a cell millions of years ago. So a bacteria snuck into a cell, and rather than being destroyed, they were able to coexist. They were each able to offer something that the other did not have on its own, and together it made for a stronger cell. And now all these millions of years later, each cell that you have is partly powered by this mitochondria, an invader that made itself at home and was welcomed as part of the cell. We are the product of cooperation. We are part of systems. This is something ecologists have really helped us understand. With the climate crisis, we seem to understand more over time. Every year, we understand more the beautiful and amazing web of life that we are a part of. Rather than the idea of humanity being dominant over all other things in nature, I mean, we're good at some stuff. I think that we've accomplished some remarkable things, but we are still one component of the whole. And when we work in harmony with that, when we work in balance with it, the better we get at it, the better all life on this planet benefits. And I think that organizations and families and relationships work better as well. Instead of having a dominant, I need to win, and if I'm not winning, I'm losing kind of attitude, when we can approach each other with curiosity and openness, and perhaps even wonder, to realize that I have some views of what things I think would work best, but that's based on my own experiences. You have your own experiences, your own life, your own education, your own background, your own traumas, and your own dreams and ambitions. So when we work together, when we're open to new ideas, that doesn't mean abandoning our ideas in favor of someone else, but it's being open to consider. And what does that mean? When I talk to somebody that has a very different perspective on life that I've even considered, my mind expands. New things become possible. I'm able to refine my plans because I was working with the best data I had, but when someone gives me a new fact, well, I can integrate that and I can improve on my plan. I think businesses work better this way as well. Often you'll see, especially with hierarchies, you'll see people that, for whatever reason, they believe that to feel safe, they need power, they need authority, and they need to be respected. And so, in a lot of cases, I don't think those people want to be tyrants. They were just taught that that's how it works. And so they climb the ladder and they're in a position of authority. But if they got there by being disrespectful or treacherous or backstabbing or sucking up or whatever, then they don't have the respect of their colleagues and they don't have the respect of the people that are under them. And so that erodes their position. They have to wield more authority to keep people in line, and more resentment builds and good staff will leave. And so this can be death for an organization. It certainly is not healthy. On the other hand, when you have leadership structures that will speak about their own vulnerability, their own struggles, their own challenges, they want to build a healthy community with their workers. Everybody feels invested. People want to support managers like that. Colleagues will speak up more for each other. So it leads to more of a community, more of a family kind of feeling, an investment. We all rise and fall together instead of, I need to just look after my self-interest. This also breeds innovation. When you have workers that feel respected and supported, they feel more free to bring up their ideas, their own unique experiences that can propel your business forward in ways that you could never have imagined. In personal relationships, this works the same way. Brene Brown has talked a lot about vulnerability. Well, vulnerability is all about disarming. She talks about the armory. Instead of walking around with, look how smart and powerful and intelligent I am, and you should listen to me, there is this beautiful vulnerability that Dr. Brown role models, and she encourages us to do, to say, I've struggled too. I screw up all the time. I'm insecure, or I'm anxious, or I'm sad, or I'm scared. And to be able to talk about those things will make other people more open to you as well. And when we're honest about our struggles, we can work on solutions instead of trying to maintain this notion of dominance that is a fiction, because none of us feel that way all the time. In terms of productivity plans, the purpose of this video is not to say one is better than the other. It's just to be mindful of what is fueling you. If you are being aggressive and if you are being competitive, and if that works for you, if it's a short-term project, you're not here to make friends, you just want to accomplish that goal, that's okay. You might be in an environment where you have to be that way, where other people are as aggressive and you need to survive in that environment. That's okay. However, be careful that it doesn't become a default. In my experience, so much more possibility is opened up when we are open to the idea that other people are not just trying to take us down, and we don't have to be dominant over everybody else. We don't have to beat them into submission. we can invite them to join us on our journey. We can join them on theirs, and together we end up somewhere that neither of us could have accomplished on our own. I hope that this helps you, gives you a few different ideas to think about. I hope that you'll come back next week when we're going to talk about radical acceptance, which is making space for the really challenging emotions, because we're coming up next week on the halfway mark in this 16 episode arc this season. Next week is episode 8, talking about some of those big challenging emotions that come up in the process of change. I hope that you'll join me. In the meantime, take care, be kind to yourselves, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.